We're back. Episode number 31. How you fellas doing?
I'm doing great.
Pretty good.
How about yourself?
I'm doing swell. I'm sure I'm not the only one doing swell, though. I think we're just going to jump right into this because we do have a lot to cover today. But the Milwaukee Bucks, they're feeling pretty swell.
Yes, they are.
Because last night, Saturday night, they took a 3-2 advantage in the NBA Finals, winning 123 to 119 in Phoenix in Game 5. I mean, that game and Game 4, for that matter, were incredible. Both nail biters. You know, they came down to the wire. A lot of crazy plays that we'll obviously talk about. But I feel like this is the question that I need to pose. Is this the last stand for the Suns? Because, again, they're one game away from elimination. Or do you guys think that they can force a Game 7, potentially come back and win this series?
The Bucks just won in Phoenix, so I think that the Suns can steal an away game. I don't think they will, but they can. I think Toby's probably said this. You've both probably said this multiple times. Drew Holiday and Middleton play a lot better at home, so it'll be tough. But I think the Suns can do it.
See, I don't agree. I think not only is this series over, but the Chris Paul era for the Suns are never going to make a finals again, and that's very pessimistic of me. Looking at the Suns franchise, but like, I just don't see how they can win a Game 6 away. After, like you said, Drew Holiday and Middleton were great in Game 5, and I don't expect them to be any worse in Game 6. I don't know. I feel like all the momentum is in the Bucks' hands, and even if they don't win a Game 6, I still feel like them being on the road in a Game 7 isn't gonna pose a great disadvantage to them. They've been in that situation before with Brooklyn. I think this series is pretty much over, and I think Game 6, I think that's going to be the final game.
I'm curious to know. I don't know if this has ever happened or the last time this has happened, but I'm curious to know if this has ever happened in NBA Finals where a team went down 0-2 and then won the next 4 games, because that's what the Bucks are essentially on the brink of doing. And I'm curious if that's historic, if that's something that's rare. I don't know, but if the Bucks can pull that off, that would be very, very impressive. But I don't even know where to begin. Well, I guess I'll say that, my original prediction was Bucks in 6. I think, Toby, you said that as well on our preview show for the NBA Finals. So I'm probably just going to stick with that. But, I feel like we just need to break down Games 4 and 5 because they were insane. Game 4, I think it was highlighted for the most part by Devin Booker. He had 42 points and he didn't make a single 3 in that game. He shot 17 of 28 from the field. But at the same time, Justin, you mentioned Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday. They both play better at home. Chris Middleton had arguably his best playoff game ever, scoring a career high 40 points, playoff career high 40 points in that game. 6 rebounds, 4 assists. And that was the first time since 2001 that opposing players had scored 40 points in an NBA Finals game. The first time since Shaq and Allen Iverson did that when they scored 44 and 48 points. Oh my gosh. But I feel like the defining moment of that game, the moment everyone is going to remember, was the block that Giannis had on DeAndre Ayton in the last seconds of that game. I mean, what did you guys think of that block? Because I feel like it's been covered a lot, but I mean, what did you guys make of it?
That rivals LeBron's block. That rivals that, chase down on Iguodala. He was guarding Devin Booker when he threw that pass. And then he was able to track the ball and keep his eye on DeAndre Ayton. And it was just the perfect block. He said post-game that he really thought he was about to get dunked on. He really thought he was about to have his career ended. But that was a great play. One of the most athletic, just you'll never see anything like this guy again, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, that was insane. And when I first saw it, I could have sworn he was about to get yammed on, but somehow, some way, he was able to, stick his hand, his long ass arms just helped him. And I think that block shows us exactly why he has been a defensive player of the year, and is considered one of, if not the best defender in the NBA. So in terms of comparing it to LeBron's, I would say the level of difficulty is harder, but we got to remember Bron's block was late minutes in Game 7 of one of the craziest finals ever. So it's hard to compare the two, but that play is definitely going to be remembered for a long time if the Bucks do end up winning the series. So that was just crazy.
And I've noticed Giannis, he does get dunked on a lot. But that kind of goes to show, like, he's a fearless defender. Like, he'll test anybody at the rim. Like, it doesn't matter. He's gonna go all out to make sure you're not scoring. And if he gets dunked on, it's whatever. He comes back and he'll make up for it. He always does.
Yeah, I like that.
The thing is, though, like with getting dunked on, I feel like weirdly, people will remember a block like that more than someone getting dunked on. Like, unless it's something like absolutely insane, maybe like Dwayne Wade dunking on Verjao. That's a dunk that I think a lot of people will remember, or something like that. Or LeBron dunking on Jason Terry when he was with the Heat. Like, that's a dunk a lot of people will remember. But like, for the most part, I feel like blocks will age better than getting dunked on. And this block, I mean, like you said, like both of you said, not only did it like display his freakish, I mean, they call him the Greek freak, but literally his freakish athleticism and size and length just to be able to make the play in the first place. But the fact that he just like had the awareness to go up and even contest a shot is really insane. Because after the game, in a press conference, his first question was about that block, and he was saying, "I thought I was going to get dunked on." As he literally said that. I thought Ayton was just going to dunk on my head, but he knew that the alley-oop was coming as soon as Devin Booker kind of, moved his hand underneath the basketball. Like, he saw that and was like, "Okay, well, he's too far away from the rim to take a layup." And I knew Ayton was behind me and rolling to the rim, so I knew a lob was coming. So really, the only chance I had was just jumping in front of the basket and just putting my hand up and trying to block it. And he was rewarded with one of the best blocks I've ever seen. But just for a reference about blocking alley-oops in general, this season, I heard this statistic from another podcast from Kevin O'Connor. He said that there was 2,881 passes thrown for alley-oops that resulted in a shot attempt this year, including the, regular season and playoffs. Do you want to guess how many of them were blocked? 2,000. Oh, it's more than two. It's definitely more than two. 2,880 81 passes. How many of them were blocked?
Damn. Ooh, that's tough. I'm gonna say
It's more than 2, but it's still pretty low.
I'm gonna say like maybe 40 or 50.
I'm gonna go even lower. I'm gonna say like 25.
Tove, you were pretty close. It was 44. But
Jesus.
that's 0 or 0.02%. Like, think about that. Like, that's essentially the percentage chance Giannis had of getting that block. The fact that he didn't foul Ayton is another thing.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like, I don't even understand how he didn't. Like, it would have been so easy to just like slap him on the wrist or get him like in the body or something. I don't know how Giannis did it. I really don't.
It was clean.
It was really crazy.
Not to mention Ayton as like one of the most lob threat like players in the league, 7-footer that's just extremely strong. Like
Exactly. I don't know how he did it. But game 5, I mean, last night, game 5, it had its fair share of crazy moments as well. But just in general, I mean, the Suns looked like they were going to run away with it to start the game. The first quarter, they outscored the Bucks 37-21, and they shot 74% from the field. So at that moment, I'm thinking, okay, the Suns might really take this game. Then the second quarter, led by Drew Holiday, who I think had, I want to say 14 or 16 points in the second quarter alone, which was, I believe, a playoff career high for a quarter for him. The Bucks outscored Phoenix 43-24 in the second. They shot 71% from the field and 68% from 3 in the second quarter. So they made it a very, very close game. They got back into it. And then obviously the second half was a lot closer. But I think you mentioned this again, Justin. Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, they deserve all the praise in the world for stepping up. Obviously, Giannis is going to, show up whenever you need him. But those two really, really got the job done, particularly Holiday, who had been pretty bad all series long. You were waiting for a Drew Holiday game all this entire series. You knew it was coming. And he had 27 points on 12 of 20 shooting, which was the second highest point total from him this postseason. And he also had 3 huge steals in the game. One we'll probably talk about in a second. But there was one moment in this game where I knew Holiday was definitely, locked in. I think it was during the third quarter where Devin Booker was kind of just dribbling up the floor. They were near half court, and Booker was kind of bumping into Holiday to create some separation, and he did it twice. And then the third time, as he went to go bump Holiday, he strips Devin Booker, runs down the floor, and then hits a transition 3 in his face. And I'm like, okay, this guy's feeling himself now. He's locked in. But everyone wants to talk about the essentially one of the last plays of the game. It's a 1-point game, I believe. The Suns are down 1, I believe. Devin Booker's driving to the rim. Holiday helps off Chris Paul, gets a steal, rips it out of Devin Booker's hands, is running down the floor. You see Giannis trucking it down the floor, throws a perfect lob to Giannis, and he slams it home and one alley-oop over Chris Paul to give the Bucks a 3-point lead. I believe it was a 3-point lead. I mean, what did you guys make of that play? Because, again, Drew Holiday created it. Giannis finished it. I mean, what do you guys think of that?
This is a funny story. So I had just gotten on PlayStation 5 with Toby. I just got on. We were in the party together, and it was right probably a minute before that play goes down. And we're both watching it. We're like, oh, this is a great game. I can't wait to see what's gonna happen. And Drew Holiday makes that play, and me and Toby are going nuts. Me and Toby are losing it. This has been one of the most exciting series I've ever seen. Both games 4 and 5 ended with like two of the greatest plays in basketball, like in playoff history. I don't know about playoff history, but you know what I mean. It's just great, exciting, energetic basketball. You love to see it.
Yeah, that play is going to go down in my memory as probably my favorite play to come out of this series. Because there's always a few, like every finals, there's always a few iconic plays that you're going to remember for years to come. I think that for me is going to be the one. First of all, I was not expecting Drew Holiday to throw a lob right there. Like, I thought maybe he was going to try to dribble it out and maybe waste a little more time on the clock. But I guess seeing Giannis just running full sprint, you kind of have to throw it. And oh my gosh, when he made that shot and Giannis turned around and looked at the camera, just had a cold, expressionless face. That was the moment I'm like, yeah, the Bucks are gonna win this series. Like, Giannis, I got to give him his props because he's been a different breed this playoffs. Kind of reminds me of like the Kawhi mindset where he's not going to get too high or too low after a loss. He said, I'm not going to dwell on it. We're just going to move on to the next game. And I think that's a great mindset for a 26-year-old, still lots of, like, what am I trying to say? Like, he still has a lot to prove in this league, and he's acting as if like he's been in this situation before. Like, he knows exactly what the team's going to do. So yeah, just that play was just, that's going to be in my memory for a long time.
I mean, that was nuts. There's like, I feel like Holiday doesn't get enough credit for how good like of a playmaker he is, because I don't know how many assists he had in this game, but I feel like every time, like, he was always making the right pass throughout the entire game. And then there's like, I don't even know, maybe like 10 players in the league that realistically could have caught and finished that lob traffic, in transition. Like, that entire play was just like, didn't make sense. But I mean, I don't even know what to say. It really just left me it didn't leave me speechless. I mean, you guys saw me freaking out in our group chat, but like, it was just like, wow. And you're right, Toby. I feel like at that moment we kind of realized, like, damn, the Bucks really are here to stay. They really might win this series. But Devin Booker, I mean, I feel like we should mention him. And I have a question I want to pose, but I'll give some context first. Devin Booker, he scored 40 points in Game 5, and he became the first Suns player to score 40 points in consecutive playoff games. But he also became the 5th player in NBA history to score 40 points in consecutive playoff losses, and the first player ever to do that in the NBA Finals. So I don't want to discredit what Devin Booker is doing, but this whole situation with Devin Booker, putting up these crazy point totals throughout the playoffs, it reminded me of an interview that Kobe Bryant did in 2019 when he was talking about James Harden and the Houston Rockets. James Harden was in the middle of a streak where I think he scored like 30 points in like 27 straight games or something like that, which was like a record, I think, an NBA record. And Kobe was just saying he doesn't think that the Rockets would ever be able to win a championship because of the way Harden kind of dominates the ball, and how they don't really have a lot of other playmakers and shot creators and stuff like that. I'm kind of getting the same vibe with the Suns right now and Devin Booker, to be honest. Even though Chris Paul is there and getting his, it just feels like, and again, there's no denying that Devin Booker deserves to take those shots because he's one of the best shot makers in the NBA. He's proven that. If you can just watch the games, like he can make anything, it feels like. But it doesn't surprise me that the 2 games that Phoenix has won in this series, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and Mikal Bridges in Game 1, scored 68 points combined, and then game 2 scored 60 points. And, while, again, it's fun to watch Devin Booker hit crazy fadeaway mid-range jumpers and stuff like that, I feel like it makes defense, as weirdly enough, it makes defense a lot easier for the Bucks because they're not worrying about all the role players getting hot. They're not worried about Cam Johnson knocking down threes, Mikal Bridges knocking down threes, Jay Crowder knocking down threes, DeAndre Ayton catching lobs, stuff like that. They're really focused on Devin Booker. So do you guys think if the Suns want to extend the series, they need to kind of go away from Devin Booker a little bit? Not entirely, but try and put more, onus on their Chris Paul and the rest of the team?
Well, what has even happened to that guy, Chris Paul? They went into Milwaukee and it's like the guy disappeared. Like everybody was saying, oh yeah, he's an MVP candidate. He's the best player on this team. Well, after I'll give him games 1 and 2, he played amazing. I think out of both those games, he probably had less than 5 turnovers combined. But then since then, he's probably tripled his turnover numbers. Because I remember in game 3, I think it was, he had like 7 turnovers. So, he's just going to have to get his head out of his ass. I don't know what that guy's doing. He's going to have to figure that out. But other than that, they're the Phoenix Suns. Everybody was talking about how this is mostly everybody's first playoff run. They're still all like younger than 25. So most of the players on that team haven't developed their game fully. So, they're going to have to figure it out. But if this team is to stay together and keep making the playoffs, I think with the years going by, everybody will be able to, everybody's role will be figured out and everybody will know what they can and can't do, what they need to do, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And as far as that Kobe quote goes with like the James Harden thing, it's like, Kobe and Devin Booker, in my opinion, are very similar players in terms of play style. Like Kobe, he wasn't really known for his amazing passes. He was known for, scoring mostly and playing really good defense. And obviously Kobe was blessed with a Shaq at the beginning of his career. So I just feel like Devin Booker's play style, maybe it's not the best fitting with this current squad, like as constructed, because I feel like he needs another scorer next to him. Like Chris Paul is a very capable scorer, but he's probably going to average no more than like 20 points a series. And as far as like the role players that go around him, I feel like with the defense focusing so much on Devin Booker and the fact that he can still score like 30, 40-point games, I feel like maybe the other role players do need to step up, start hitting their shots. Not saying that they've been playing bad, but I'm pretty sure I said this before. Like I was not expecting the Suns team to make the finals at all. Obviously they were a little lucky with some injuries throughout the playoffs, but I think this isn't the last time we're going to see Devin Booker in the finals. And if I was the Suns, I would just say, D-Book, just keep doing your thing. Chris Paul, we're going to have to figure some stuff out with you and the rest of the role players. So I wouldn't necessarily say he's the problem. Maybe there is a little truth towards like he needs to get others more involved and stuff like that. But I think on a championship team, there needs to be a guy like Booker who's going to score the majority of the points. So that's I think where I stand.
You just said that Devin Booker, and Kobe have very similar play styles, and I agree. But you also pointed out Kobe's defense. Do you think that Devin Booker is going to need to develop not a lockdown defensive game, but that guy really doesn't be doing nothing on defense. Like he's really just kind of like, I'll try my best, but if he gets by me, he gets by me. Like, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, he's not the most athletic guy. You know what I mean? So it's going to be something that he has to work on. Like it's not going to happen overnight. Probably throughout a few more seasons once he gets, older, stronger, and more wise, I guess you could say. I think he will eventually be a better defender than he is right now. So yeah, we got to remember D Book is like what 23 or 24, so he's got a long ways to go.
When it comes to defense, this is kind of for both of you. When it comes to defense, do you think it's more like about skill, like being a skillful defender, or is it more about just like the mindset of I'm locking your ass up, like you're not scoring on me? Like, what do you think it's more like of being a good defender?
That's tough. I mean, I don't know if
Because
it's
I feel like especially defense, it has a lot to do with mindset. Because offense, it's like you go out there, all you're doing is shooting the ball, but on defense, it's like you don't know what that other player is thinking. You don't know what they're gonna hit you with, what kind of dribbles, moves, when they're gonna shoot it. Like it's more about I'm up in your grill. Like you're not like you can do whatever you want. You're not scoring.
I don't know if it's necessarily like mentality. I mean, definitely effort is a big part of defense, but I feel like IQ, just having like a high IQ on that side of because I feel like defenders like don't get enough credit. Like Giannis, like for example, like it was a great block, but like there's only so many people that could have actually done that because like the awareness to actually know what's going on in that play. And it happens so fast. Like you have to be very, I guess cerebral to know like what's going on around you at all times. Obviously, you need like physical tools to be a good defender. You can't just be like me, like my size, and expect to like be able to lock up someone like LeBron James or something. But I do think it's definitely a mixture of both.
Yeah, I agree, and I think, like Kobe, as we were discussing, like he used to study each and every player, what they were good at, like what they liked to do when they were driving or how they like to pull up and stuff like that. I'm not sure how many players are doing that today, but I think it's more skill wise, whereas the defensive mindset is what separates them as like from a good defender to a great defender. Like Tony Allen definitely had a defensive mindset his whole career. He wasn't afraid of anybody, and he was obviously, one of the greatest defenders that we've seen. So, skill wise, I think Devin Booker just, maybe needs to put a little more work into that.
And I think there's also like a limit on like how, you know, you don't want to be too cocky when you're like as a defender, like, oh, I'm locking this guy up. He's not doing anything because a lot of defense in the NBA is like team defense. Like everyone has to be on the same page. You can't, it's not generally, I mean, obviously a player like Drew Holiday gets credit for his perimeter defense, one-on-one defense. But at the same time, the Bucks just have a good defense in general because they have players like Chris Middleton, like Giannis, like Brooke Lopez at times, like I feel like it's a mixture. It's hard to say one or the other what's more important, but just to I guess wrap up this final segment, I guess. That's a crazy thing to sum up how crazy Game 5 was. The Suns became the first team ever to lose a playoff game despite shooting 55% from the field and 60% from three. It's the first time that's ever happened where they lost ever in NBA history. That's insane. So like that's the thing. That's why I really feel like the Bucks can win because I mean, how much better can you honestly be if you're the Suns? Like, yes, it was a close game, but 55 and 60 as your, shooting splits at home. Devin Booker scores 40. Like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel like the Suns I think it might be over for Phoenix. But only time
Yeah, I
will
think
tell.
so.
That game is
And
on Tuesday, I believe.
Yeah.
And I'll give a shout out to Pat Connaughton because maybe not you guys, or maybe it was you guys, but I know definitely Spencer was hating on that guy. And through the absence of DiVincenzo, I think he's actually been pretty solid. Like, I don't think he's as good a defender as DiVincenzo, but he's been knocking down his shots. I think he has the second most threes throughout these finals. So I'll give him a quick shout out.
I gotta say, in Game 4, he did hit like 1 or 2 threes down the stretch that either tied it or put him up or just kept it close. He was hitting some pretty big shots. I gotta give it to him.
But
Still might be a bum though.
Just the whole Bucks, entire crop of role players, PJ Tucker, Pat Connaughton, Bobby Portis, they all make pretty big impacts. But it's crazy. And shout out, again, I guess the last thing I'll say is Drew Holiday was getting a lot of hate this past offseason or when the Bucks traded for him because they thought they gave up too much. I think they gave up like 3 first-round picks or something for Drew Holiday, and everyone was saying, that's crazy. Why would you do that? Well, look at them now. They're 1 game away from winning a championship in their first year with Drew Holiday. So sometimes it pays off to go all in when you have a player like Giannis and you have a player like Chris Middleton. Sometimes it makes sense to do that. And I guess that's kind of relevant to our next topic. Outside of the NBA Finals, there was actually quite a bit of news this week, but none bigger, in my opinion, than this news with Kawhi Leonard and the Los Angeles Clippers. So this past Tuesday, it was reported by Shams Charania of The Athletic that Kawhi Leonard had undergone surgery to repair a partially torn ACL. And we don't know for sure the extent of Leonard's injury, but many believe it is a grade 2 tear, which is essentially, it's not the same as a grade 3 tear, which is what everyone thinks of when you hear, a player tore their ACL. But it basically requires the same recovery time, the same surgery and stuff like that. So a lot of people think he's going to miss anywhere from 6 months to a year this coming season. What do you guys make of this news? Because I didn't think this injury for Kawhi was as bad as, what I thought it was. I thought it was just something light. That's why he was missing those games in the playoffs. But this is big news for the Clippers. What do you guys make of it?
Well, in my opinion, I see this as a very similar situation as when he was on the Spurs. And as much as I don't like to sort of copy what other people say, I was listening to Skip Bayless talk about Kawhi. And he was the first one to say Kawhi is going to need injury before Shams or Woj or anybody said that. I think he does have an inside knowledge in Kawhi's camp. But what he said was Kawhi thought that they misdiagnosed him, sort of like they did in San Antonio. So with that knowledge, again, I don't know if it's true or not, but I would not be surprised to see Kawhi request a trade, especially after 2 seasons in LA where, obviously they weren't able to get the job done. It's interesting. And when he was sitting out during those playoff games, I also thought to myself, this is probably a worse injury than maybe we're being told, because he wasn't even sitting with the team. He was basically in the stands with his family. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I remember thinking the same thing, Toby. If Kawhi, even if he was only at 50%, if he could play, he would have been out there playing. He was not going to sit. And the fact that he was up in a box, with his kids and stuff, the guy was probably thinking oh, I know they're going to lose. I don't even want to be anywhere near him. But the thing with Kawhi and his future with the Clippers is you can't tell what that guy's feeling or thinking. That guy's stone cold. You never know. So his future with the Clippers is totally just, you have no clue. The guy could not even accept his player option. He might be out of there and leave him with nothing. He might just say, yeah, this team sucks. But I'll be surprised if they make the playoffs this upcoming season, because although Paul George was playing pretty well in the playoffs without Kawhi, I don't know if he'll be able to do it for a whole season. I don't know if he'll be able to lead the Clippers as is for a whole season. And a lot of teams in the West are on the come up. You know, the Warriors are going to be back in the playoffs for sure. I've been hearing reports. I heard it from Stephen A on First Take, I think it was. Kristaps is jealous of Luka, so the Mavs might try and trade him for a star who will be like, who wants to play with Luka. And you know, the Grizzlies and Pelicans, two nice young teams who barely missed the playoffs this year, and the Spurs might be back in it. You know, you can't ever count them out. Greg Popovich, great coach. So all these teams on the come up, these Clippers might not even be in the playoffs next year.
Yeah, this situation is bad, to say the least. I mean, there's a very real possibility Kawhi just doesn't play at all next year. And like you said, he has a $36 million player option for next season. And, you know, a lot of people throughout the playoffs debated whether or not Kawhi would stay, depending on how well the Clippers fared without him. And now that he's hurt, people are saying, oh, well, he would be crazy not to cash in on all that money when he might not even play next season. You know, if he opts out, who's going to pay him? But in my opinion, like, well, first of all, I should say this. This is not even the first time in recent history that this has happened, where a superstar got hurt entering, you know, essentially a contract year and decided to leave. Kevin Durant did this in 2019, because in 2018, after his second title with the Warriors, winning Finals MVP, he signed a 1+1 deal with the team, which is basically a 2-year max contract with a player option in the second season. And, you know, that provided flexibility for both KD and the Warriors. But of course, we know in the 2019 NBA Finals, he ruptured his Achilles against the Raptors and decided to leave that season. Despite suffering one of the most devastating injuries, a lot of people can, you know, question whether or not he would ever be able to play at the same level again. Everyone still wanted him. I feel like the same thing could be, you know, said about Kawhi. We saw how good he was playing in the playoffs before he got hurt. I think these two situations are identical. So I guess a question, if you are a team like your Knicks, Justin, or, you know, some other young team that has enough cap space, would you want to give Kawhi, if he does opt out of his player option, which again is still questionable? I feel like he probably will end up staying, but we'll see. But if he does and he goes into free agency, would you be willing to give Kawhi maybe like a 3 or a 4-year max contract, knowing he won't play at all next season? Or would you just say, nah, we'll just keep building for the future without him?
I would make him the contract, but I'm not even worried about him not playing this upcoming season. I'm worried about, is he going to keep getting injured late in the playoffs like he's done almost every year in like recent memory? The guy sprains his ankle because of Zaza in the conference finals, I think. The guy, didn't he get hurt in the he was on the Raptors too, not in the finals, but wasn't he not 100?
He was
he was
dealing
like-
with an
he was
injury
like
that
half
whole
injured.
series, or that whole like postseason, really, I think.
And this year again, the guy, was it the conference finals?
Essentially tears his ACL. Like,
Was it the conference finals again?
no, I think it was during the Jazz series, I believe.
So like, it's not even like the guy's like getting injured in the regular season. The guy's getting injured in the playoffs where you need him. So That is my bigger concern. That is where I'm like, I'm still giving him that contract. He's still getting that contract, but the whole time I'm gonna be like, oh, is he gonna get hurt? Like,
Yeah, I agree. Depending on what team I am, I do give him that contract. Now, the first team that popped into my head was the Dallas Mavericks, and that's probably like a super long shot. But if the Mavericks can somehow land a Kawhi and pair him next to Luka, I feel like that duo would just be like that duo is at least a Western Conference Finals.
who knows, Toby? Maybe we see a little sign and trade action.
But like you said, it really depends on his health. And with Kristaps saying like he's a little jealous, I think that might play a role into the Mavericks trying to look into getting a different star paired up next to Luka. So, like I said, I think that's a long shot. But if I was a team, I do give him that max contract just because if he can stay healthy throughout the playoffs, he's one of those. He's going to be like a top 5 playoff performer. Like we even saw it this year before he got injured. He was putting up buckets like it was nothing, and he was obviously the best player on the Clippers. So I feel like he's one of those players that he can bring it up another level during the playoffs, which is why he's so valuable. But yeah, like I said, if it's the right team, then they should give him that contract.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this offseason plays out. There's a lot of dominoes to fall, with the draft and then obviously free agency. We'll see. It's going to be crazy rest of the summer after the playoffs. But another big rumor, I guess, another superstar was in the news this past week, as there was plenty of rumors surrounding Portland Trailblazers star Damian Lillard and his future with the team. But during a press conference, as a member of Team USA, Lillard essentially put all of those rumors to rest, saying that all the things that are being said has not come from me, and he has not made any firm decisions about his futures, with the Portland Trailblazers. A lot of people are saying that he's requesting a trade out. He wants out, but he keeps doubling down. He's saying, I've not said anything yet. So what do you guys expect Damian Lillard to do? Do you guys think he'll be in a Blazers uniform by the start of next season, or do you think he'll be elsewhere?
Knowing Dame, like he's one of those guys who he's going to say what's on his mind. He's not going to sugarcoat it. He's just going to say it how it is. If he says that these rumors aren't coming from him and he expects to be in Portland, I think he's going to be in Portland. He might get traded during the season, but he will start the season as a Portland Trailblazer, as much as I hate to say it.
Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry.
Just one little thing. Just keep an eye out for any moves that Portland might make. If they trade any of their role players or any of their picks, see what goes on with that. Because if they trade anybody significant, it might be because they're cleaning house and they're ready for a rebuild.
Yeah. In my opinion, I think he stays. He's always he's been one of those loyal players his whole career. I think the Trailblazers getting Chauncey Billups, who I believe was his number one, the coach that he wanted them to get. I think that'll play a huge factor in his decision. Like you said, Justin, I think there is a chance that if they start performing poorly, or it looks like it's the same situation as the past few seasons, I think they can look into, selling off their team, trying to rebuild. But there's one team that I feel like might have a shot at getting him, as crazy as it sounds. And I think that's the Golden State Warriors.
Oh.
Because I feel like the Warriors have like I don't know who they would trade, but I feel like they have the pieces that they can make that trade if they wanted to. And him being from Oakland, I feel like that'll also play a role in him trying to push that trade. If it does go down like that. But as far as right now goes, I see him staying in Portland.
I can't imagine a three-headed monster of Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, and Klay Thompson. I mean, that's
That's
33s a game from those three alone.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
that's
But-
terrifying.
I mean, first of all, I really hate seeing like all those trade rumors like on social media with like these people think they have the inside scoop on what Dame wants and stuff like that. And it's
Facts.
just like baseless information. They're like, "Oh, you're not paying attention. You don't
They
know
just, they,
what's
they
going
just say
on."
per a source.
Right. It's just so stupid. Like, and then literally later in that day, Dame is like, "I've not said anything." It's just like now you look like an idiot. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like Dame is probably going to end up staying in Portland, but I don't know if that's necessarily if he really wants to win a championship, which, remains to be seen. I don't know if that's really his end goal. I don't think it's going to take away from his legacy as a player. I mean, he'll obviously be looked at differently if he does win a ring, but I feel like if he does want to win a ring, he needs to get out of Portland because they've really not built around Dame that the way other superstars kind of have franchises built around them. I don't think he's played with an all-star since LaMarcus Aldridge, which was back in like 2015, I think.
CJ's never been an all-star?
Nope. Never been an
Oh, wow.
all-star. So, I mean, it's just like it's kind of sad to kind of watch this, and he even knows it. He's like saying, I'm not getting any younger. These are my prime years. Like you guys need to. He wants to see some more urgency from the front office. So unless they can pull off some blockbuster trade this offseason, I don't really see a world in where Portland gets any better than they were last year. And if that's the case, then I don't know how much longer Dame time is going to be in Portland. But you mentioned the Warriors, Toby, as a potential destination. I heard from a friend who gave me this idea, and it just intrigued me a lot. And I think it's possible. I think they have the assets to pull it off. The New Orleans Pelicans. I think the Pelicans could potentially trade for Dame, and they wouldn't have to give up Zion or Brandon Ingram because they obviously have a boatload of draft picks from the Lakers and their own draft picks that they could get rid of. They obviously have a bunch of young players that they already drafted that they could potentially ship out of town. Lonzo Ball is going to be I believe a restricted free agent, so he could be a sign and trade in that deal. Like there's a lot of pieces in that deal that could potentially work to where we see Dame in New Orleans, and I feel like that would the Dame,
I don't want to see
Zion,
that.
and Brandon Ingram on the same team. Oh my gosh, that would be crazy.
Did the Pelicans ever sign a new coach?
Yeah. Jeez.
That's a
I
good
believe
question.
they did. There was a bunch of new coaches. They got Willie Green from the I think he's on the Suns right now. So we'll see how that ends up.
Speaking of what's it called? Coaching signings. I saw a post on ESPN, I think it was ESPN's Instagram, of the 8 coach openings this offseason. 7 of them were filled by, black coaches. So you love to see that.
Yeah, I think I saw that too.
NBA is finally coming around.
Wes Unseld recently.
And I will say,
job. Oh, what?
Well, I just wanted to mention, sort of not relevant to Dame Lillard, but you mentioned earlier, Jorie, about like these Twitter and Instagram accounts that think they have the inside scoops on everything and know what trades are going on. I hate that. You were right. I hate like looking at those because I think I mentioned this in an earlier episode, but I'm seeing some buffoonery about the Nets trading Kyrie for Ben Simmons. And just like, no, like that'll never happen ever. Like, no, don't even like say that. Kyrie Irving's not going anywhere, but that's just all I wanted to throw out there.
Yeah, no, it's I really hate seeing all those accounts thinking they're like Woj or something. It really is annoying. But yeah, Justin, again, shout out all those coaches, man. It's awesome. Chauncey Billups, like we mentioned earlier, Nate McMillan got the job with the Hawks. He's locked in now as their head coach.
That guy on the Celtics, whoever that guy is.
Ime
I don't know who.
yeah.
I never heard of that guy before.
I'm pretty sure he's on the Nets, or at least was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's a really good crop of new
Kidd,
coaches.
You guys, or at least Jorie was hating on Jason Kidd. I think he's gonna do good. I think he's gonna do good.
I don't.
That whole thing with that though, I feel like they just kind of moved on from Rick Carlisle for no reason. Like they're a playoff team. Like what's the problem?
It's a different culture, I guess. Or
yeah, I guess. Yeah, I think it's just a new era of Mavericks basketball with Luka. So they're ushering in a new head coach.
I think Jason Kidd can be. I think he's going to be good.
It remains to be seen. We'll see what happens this offseason. I feel like what the team looks like will definitely change my opinion next year. But last topic, I want to talk about Team USA because it's pathetic. This team is just pathetic. But there was a bunch of news coming from the Olympic team this past week. Bradley Beal is no longer going to be playing in the Tokyo Olympics after he entered COVID-19 health and safety protocols. Kevin Love, who a lot of people didn't even really want on the roster in the first place, withdrew from the team in an attempt to fully recover from a right calf injury. And the two players that are replacing Bradley Beal and Kevin Love are Spurs forward Keldon Johnson and Nuggets center JaVale McGee. I mean, a lot of people are just questioning what Team USA is doing. Trae Young, I think, was pushing to be a member of Team USA a lot of people thought that would be a great addition. A lot of people were saying Zion should be a team or on the team. I mean, their group phase or the tournament essentially starts in a week, next Sunday, July 25th. How concerned are you guys about Team USA and their gold medal hopes? Because I personally don't think they're going to win gold this year. But what do you guys think?
No, I'm the complete opposite. I have no doubt that we win gold. We have Kevin Durant. We have that man, Kevin Durant, on our team. We should not be losing at all. The best player in these Olympics outside of Team USA is like Patty Mills. Like, what are we saying? Win these games.
No. Luka's playing.
I'm saying
Luka's playing on Slovenia. France has a pretty good team with Gobert, Nick Batum. I think Frank Ntilikina's on France as well.
They got TLC.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
I'm saying, all right, so the first USA Dream Team with Magic and Jordan, I'm pretty sure that team lost to, or it might have been the 1996 team, but they lost to the college all-stars or whatever. And then obviously the next game they went out and completely destroyed them. Now I'm not comparing this team to that team. I'm just saying I want to see a similar mentality once they start playing in these Olympic games where it's like, all right, we lost to them, that hurt our ego a little bit. So let's just focus 100% and we know we can win these games. And I also saw some stuff like I think John Morant and I think Trey Young also as well. They were both offered like spots on the team, and they were like, "You guys should have asked earlier. Like, I don't want to be on the team now."
Yeah, that's what Josh said.
Yeah, so like that's not a good look, personally. Like you
I
said,
respect that though. I do respect it because it's like, why you passed me up when? I mean, how many?
okay,
Are there really that many guards better than
all right,
Dame?
but Ja, like you're not Bradley Beal. I'm sorry, but you're not Bradley Beal, and like I don't know, like you said, they just got picked up Keldon Johnson and JaVale McGee. We got to remember these two, like maybe NBA wise, they're not the best, but they're NBA players. Like compared to foreign, you know what I'm saying? Like I think they'll be fine. I think one thing that's messed them up is the officiating. They're not able to get as many foul calls. I guess it's a little more old school, you could say.
That should be a knock to the NBA. You know, let's get a little more physical with
Yeah,
these.
I actually like it. I like it. I just think USA needs to, adjust. I think they need a little more chemistry. It's hard to build chemistry in such little time, but they do have Greg Popovich. They do have great pieces, so it's just a matter of them figuring out the best way to work together and, getting good game plans to try to beat the other teams.
You know, I was thinking, you know, first of all, Keldon Johnson, that guy's going to be nice now. Like that guy's going to be dirty now. Like he's going to be nice. But I was thinking, less of these superstar players on the team might work out because it'll be more like a normal NBA team. You have the couple guys that are going to do all the work, and then you got the guys that know their role and they're just going to be role players. So this might work out. It might be easier to coach.
I hope so.
I feel like it's just the construction of the team. Like from the beginning, I just looked at this roster and I'm like, you look at it every year and you're like, oh well, or not every year, every 4 years. You're like, oh, they got so many NBA All-Stars, they're gonna be fine. But this year, like in particular, for whatever reason, I'm looking at this team and I'm just like, they don't have one, they don't have a point guard. They just don't. Like Dame is a point guard, but score first mentality, really. And they obviously have players that can be good playmakers, but again, they don't have like a guy that can just run an offense, in my opinion, like effectively, like get everyone else looks and stuff like that. But I feel like this is just a funny. I mean, we've been talking about Giannis earlier. No longer are the days where you could just throw a bunch of NBA All Stars on the team and just say, figure it out, because the league is dominated by international players. I mean, you could say that like 4 of the top maybe 5 or 6 or 7 players from this past season were non-Americans. You have Jokic, you have Giannis, you have Embiid, and you have Luka. I mean, think about it. Like
That's pretty crazy.
the only player who made an all NBA team that's suiting up for Team USA is Damian Lillard from this past season. The only player. I mean, obviously Kevin Durant would have deserved. I mean, he was hurt for most of the season.
Yeah.
He didn't make it. But like that's still pretty crazy to think about. But yeah, I don't know. In the chemistry aspect of it, like it doesn't help that one, you're losing all these players to COVID protocols. And then the players that are coming into this team after their finals is over, I don't know. They're going to have the best. They're not going to have, I don't think they're going to be the best of friends. Devin Booker and Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton. Like, I don't think they're going to be, wanting to be buddy immediately after their NBA finals is over. And then Damian Lillard, who we literally just talked about, is dealing with a lot of drama as well. Like, I feel like there's just like so many outside factors right now with this team that I don't know. It's very concerning in my opinion.
And, I cannot remember who said it. It might have been Shannon Sharp, but I really can't remember. Somebody was saying it was Scottie Pippen. It was when Scottie Pippen and Kevin Durant were all salty with each other. Scottie Pippen said, Kevin Durant and LeBron both have things that the other doesn't have. Kevin Durant doesn't have leadership. Maybe that's why this team might not be as good as before, because he is the leader. He's not that guy who's going to be, you stink, we can't lose to Patty Mills in Australia. Like, he's not going to be that guy. He's just going to be like, all right, whatever, on to the next one. If they had Carmelo, none of this would be happening. I promise you.
Yeah, that's a bunch of cap.
Hello.
They never would have JaVale McGee. I'll tell you that. If Melo was on the team, he would have been like, yeah, that's a nice try.
Get Melo in there. They'll be fine. Then I'll have more faith. But
that point though, with these finals guys, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, and Devin Booker, why are they even playing in this? Like, everybody's complaining about the short off season last year. It's going to be the same thing for them if they do it this year.
that's a good point. That's a very good point. Yeah, that makes you question
who knows?
whether or not
We ring this year and we don't care anymore. We have a ring.
I will say some of the players that voted for this structure of season, like the shortened off season and shit, some of those players that voted for that are now the main ones that are complaining about this shortened season. So, I mean, that's not really relevant, but I just wanted to bring that up. But yeah, so I don't know. They shouldn't lose. They really shouldn't. And I can honestly see them getting silver, but like losing in the finals to, whatever team might be there. They shouldn't have lost to Nigeria. That was embarrassing.
I don't know. Nigeria's got some athletes, man.
Yeah, they have gotten.
Like, everyone on that team, it just looks like a truck. It's really crazy. Like, all of them are crazy. They're built like, I don't know. So it didn't shock me that they ended up winning.
No, but after we broke the single game scoring record against them in 2012, and then they go and clap us in our first exhibition game. Like, that's ridiculous. And didn't they break? They broke it, but they were close to setting an Olympic record with threes. I think the Nigeria team, they were sniping that game.
I think they did. I think they made like 23s or something in that game. Something like that. I think that was a record. But I'll certainly be watching.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's the worst thing in the world that they lost, though. Like, I'm pretty sure Popovich said, like, I'm glad we lost. Like I said, it's gonna hurt there. Everyone's gonna have to sort of focus in and play as a team. So hopefully they can make those adjustments, but only time will tell.
Yeah. Only time will tell. Well, that's all the news that I got. That we got. I'm probably gonna watch Space Jam later. I have not watched that yet. So gotta see what that one's about. But yeah. Any parting words?
Nets in 4 in 2022.
Right.
Nets are gonna get Carmelo this offseason.
No.
And
that's not happening, Toby.
That's my final that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I don't got nothing.
I guess shout out Luca for getting the 2K22 cover, as well as Candace Parker, Kevin Durant, I think, Kareem, and Dirk, I believe.
Yeah.
So shout out all those athletes. But yeah.
I don't know if I'm getting okay. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't even have an next gen console, so
sure, not missing nothing, Jorie. It stinks.
Yeah, fire Ronnie. Ronnie sucks.
Hashtag fire Ronnie. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I hope Ronnie sees this. I hate your guts, Ron.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, next week we will, I think, definitely know who is the NBA champion. So that's exciting. And then we have the off season.
The
So
draft is in 11 days, I think.
Damn, I didn't know it was that
gearing up for
coming
that.
up that quickly.
On July 29th, I believe.
Very excited for that.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Did you wait? Did you hear that? The Rockets wanted to trade for the first pick with the Pistons. I don't know how true that is, but that's just something interesting to throw out there. So if it does happen, we're gonna see Cade as a Houston Rocket.
Have to get rid of John Wall.
Yeah.
I think the top three should probably just remain at where they are. I don't think they benefit from trading up or down,
Yeah, I agree.
in my opinion. But
Actually, I
I
heard
agree.
the Knicks are going to trade up. The Knicks are going to combine 19 and 21, I think, and trade up.
interesting.
L.
You
So
know what,
there's
Toby?
a lot of good players in this year's draft, and I'm sure we'll talk about all of that in a future episode, probably even next week or maybe the week after that. We'll see. But yeah, Bucks and 6.
Yes, sir. Let's go, Bucks.
Until next week, we'll see you. From myself, Jorie Mickens, and my two co-hosts, Justin Sadovi and Chris Tobias, thank you so much for listening to that episode of the Full Court Report NBA show. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at FullCReport, on Instagram at the.fullcourt.report. Like and comment on this video and subscribe so you never miss a minute of action.